you. We'll find it later. Great answer.
One question. I think it was a two-part question, right?
Yeah, so it was, how did you become a designer? Do you need a license? So I think you kind of addressed the licensing / qualification part of it. What was your path to becoming a designer?
It's actually kind of a long story, but I'm going to see if I can keep this short. You know, I think a lot of us interior designers, we find that we're passionate about design. We see our creative skills kind of come up at an early age, and that was definitely the case for me. And through my whole like college career, I wanted to find a position in which I could, you know, really allow my creativity to flow and inspire others through that creativity, but I just didn't know what that was. And it really wasn't until about 2000, I think it was 2007, I was working in real estate and property management, and I had so much fun showing people all these different homes. As a leasing agent, I was going into unit after unit and showing people around and thinking, oh, I would do this, I would knock down this wall, I would do this, X, Y, and Z. You know, as interior designers, we have that thing in our mind saying, we just got to redo this entire space. And that's what it was. And it wasn't until I got into kind of a gnarly car accident and was basically homebound for about a week. These Jehovah's Witnesses came up to my door and we just started to talk. And, you know, we talked about everything from religion to home life to whatever it was. And suddenly this conversation of their daughters came up, and they told me that one of their girls was going to school for interior design. And I was like, what? That's a thing? Well, that was a very long time ago. I think, you know, interior design is kind of a newish profession, and learning that interior design was like a job, I was just kind of blown away. And so they told me, you know, what school she was going to. At the time, it was a community college. San Diego Mesa College is a very reputable, affordable community college that has one of the best design programs in Southern California. So I went for it, and that's kind of where my college career, or excuse me, my interior design career started.
Great. So you have education and then some certification.
And a lot of experience.
And well,
those are great things.
All those things are great. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a much better story than mine. I like your story. There's a lot of heart to that. I grew up with like a knack for it, and then I didn't know what I was going to do when it was time to pick a major, and somebody told me you could get an interior design degree, and I had the same reaction, like, oh, that's a thing. And then I figured out where I could go to school, and I'm very linear. So I went, I figured it out, I completed it, I got it done. And I'm going to work on AKBD this year. That's my goal.
Yay! Are there any specific certifications for the state of Colorado?
No, our state does not require registration nor licensure. So it's difficult. I would like to take the NCIDQ just because I think that's a really good minimum bar. It says this is what I know and I'm super qualified. Yeah. But it's difficult because of the requirements to sit for the exam. You have to work under someone or get someone who's already got that appellation. What do you call it?
Yeah, appellation.
To sponsor you. So it's a goal, but I don't have to do it to keep my business.
Give me 1 second here. I'm letting Rebecca in.
Okay, let's hope her video doesn't show.
Welcome, Rebecca. I don't think.
Hello, thanks for joining. I don't see her video. Good. I don't see her on the list, on the participant. Oh, I see. Great. Yeah. Cool. That was a wonderful question. Rebecca, we were just talking about how we became designers and what the qualifications were. So again, I'm gonna post this recording of this all over so that you guys can watch it later. By Monday is my goal to have that up and running. So wish me luck. Okay. Yeah. Okay, this one's a good one, and then I think we'll take a break and look at someone's space. They sent a photograph in, which I'm super excited about. That's my phone. How embarrassing. I've never worked with a designer before. How does it work, and how do designers charge for their services? I'll start by just saying I think everyone charges differently. So this is a difficult question to ask or to answer. I will say how I work, and then Megan, you can say how you work. I think we may have a similar method.
Yeah.
So I have full service design I do for residential and commercial, and then I have smaller scale services. Let's say you just need your room redone and I can get it done in a day, or you're moving and you need someone to stand there off the truck with you and tell you where things go. You can hire me for a day. So that would be considered a small service. But there's kind of full service and small service. And for both of those, I charge a flat fee based on the scope of work that's involved in the project. And I determine that after having met you and seeing what's involved, I guess. How do you charge, Megan? How do you work with your clients?
A very similar process. Full design services, you know, a majority of my projects are remodels, kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, or a full on, you know, let's furnish this space, living room, dining room, master bedroom type area. And I will say that when I first started my business back in 2015, I was working on an hourly rate. And I think that was just because that was the norm. That's what I was used to. And about 2 years later, I implemented a flat fee, and I got a lot of great feedback from my clients. So the way that works is really understanding what the scope of work is. For example, what I mean is, you know, I could be working with a client in which we're only focusing on a kitchen remodel. Or, you know, another client, they decide, yeah, we want to do a kitchen remodel, but we also want to do our 3 bathrooms as well. So that design fee is going to be very different from another client who's just doing a kitchen remodel. The reason why I receive such great feedback about the flat fee is my clients have a greater understanding of what services are all included, what I'm going to be delivering to them, as well as what that number looks like for their bottom line total. Design fee, construction fee, and all of the materials in between. They're able to have a better understanding of what their budget's going to look like.
Yeah, good, very good.
I do also, like you had mentioned, I do also offer a couple of smaller design packages. So, you know, real quick design consultations for those who just have some questions about what to do in their home if they're, you know, looking to approach something in a DIY type fashion. And then I work with a couple of realtors as well, where we do 90-minute consultations to really see what we can edit in the space before it gets listed on the market.
Yeah, I love the way that she talks about her realtor consults. I love it. I think it's a great idea the way you do it.
A lot of fun too. I built a good rapport with some realtors out here in San Diego. Now I don't know. I'm just going to throw this out here, but we do have one other interior designer here. Is it? I don't know if we.
Yeah, Sarissa's on the call.
I don't think she's interior designer. Would we like to hear how she charges? I mean, this is a great topic, and not a lot of people understand how designers charge. So
yeah, Sarissa, type in the chat. Yeah, I think you can show it to all of everyone if you want, how you charge, and then I'll read it out.
If you're around. Well, I got my eye on it, so we'll move on.
Okay. So I think we'll take a break on just question and answer. And I have a former client of mine sent me a photograph, and I won't call this person out, but they were a former commercial client of mine, and I was so excited to get a picture this morning of a space that she needs help with. So I'm gonna share my screen here and pull it up in PowerPoint and see.
Ooh, fancy.
We can go back. There we go. Okay. So Megan, I want to tell you, first of all, this is a very common living room situation in a home in Colorado, an older home, but we have a lot of homes that have this sort of long, narrow configuration for their living room with a beastie fireplace at the end of them. So I don't know if you've seen something similar in your area, but there's a lot of homes in the Denver metro area that have this thing going on.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, wait. We've got a we've got something in the chat. Let's see.
Ooh. While you're doing that, Megan, I just got the chat pop up from Sarissa. So another interior designer. Her name is Sarissa Tate. She says, "I charge a flat fee as well!" Exclamation mark. Most of what S, how I charge is similar to what you both said. Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Sarissa. So, I mean, it sounds like charging a flat fee is kind of the popular vote amongst designers.
I think we're going more toward it because, as you mentioned, we've got a budget. Typically, the client says, I have 75,000, I have 100,000, and they need to know where we come in, right? I mean, it's scary to say, oh, I'm going to do this per hour. And someone that's never had experience working with someone like us can say, well, is it 30 hours or is it 100 hours? You know, so I think it gives people peace of mind in knowing that this is what I'm going to pay for this expert, and this is what I'm going to receive. And the value to the project. So thanks, Sarissa. Sarissa's in San Antonio. So that's just to give you some perspective on where, I think it's San Antonio. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry.
San Antonio.
Okay, so here we are. We've got this living room, and there's some questions that she asked, and I think it'd be fun, Megan, if we can just maybe answer her questions, because I think that she may be wanting to just kind of DIY this space, but I have some ideas on how we could like totally revamp this space if we wanted to do like a light remodel, if you want to say.
Yeah.
So the first question on the screen, what are some fresh colors for a dark room other than gray? Thank you for asking for colors other than gray. In general, designers everywhere appreciate you for that. Yeah. What are you using right now, Megan?
For paint colors, well, paint wise, I'm a huge fan of Sherwin-Williams.
Me too.
A lot of the colors that we use out here, well, to be quite honest with you, I've never been a fan of the gray train. Some grayish tones they work well in, pre-listing consultations because it is kind of a trendy tone. Before a home goes on the market, my realtors like, these are kind of the hot colors that people gravitate towards. But in a home that I'm kind of customizing, I don't usually specify a gray tone. If you look behind me, you'll actually see a gray wall. You're probably thinking, what is she talking about? So, full disclosure here, I moved in with my boyfriend, and he's like, I wish that I had met you beforehand because we really could have done something different with the paint colors in this space. Love him, bless your soul. But we're actually going to redo this gray wall and incorporate something with a little bit more warmth. And I think color is very specific to the space that we see at hand. So in this particular situation, my thought is it's going to be very dependent, first and foremost, on all the other pieces and all the other elements before deciding on a tone.
Yes, good answer. I like that.
What's the lighting going to look like? Are you going to keep the ceiling, the beams? You know what I mean? I always pick paint color last, but some good colors to answer the question. What are some fresh colors for this dark space? So I always like, when I think of fresh, I think of tones in the greens, like sagey or something. This particular color, well, funny enough, it's actually called Techno Gray, but when you look at it in person, it actually has a lot more of that sagey undertone. And what I like about it is it actually makes us human beings just feel very, very fresh and what's the word? Healthy, if that makes sense.
Right. Oh, I lost my share. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay. Participants, we are all there. All right. Yeah. So that's just one example. The reason why I picked this particular color for this home is because of the cabinetry. It has a lot of those warmer colors and this light neutral tone with the green undertones actually complements a lot of those richer tones in the cabinetry.
And I think reds too. So the reds are complements, so they would have a good contrast in.
Absolutely. I've got something in chat. Oh, paint colors. I picked paint color last too. Yeah, Sarissa.
Yeah,
it kind of presents itself.
Yes. Well, and so maybe we bop down to that third question that says, do you recommend painting the brick? And I'll tell you, Megan, in a lot of these homes where we see this fireplace beast at the end of the space, it's common that is also the same brick color that is on the exterior of the home. Not always, but a lot of the time the exterior of the home has the same brick color. So people worry about, well, if I paint the brick, what's that going to do? Right. I personally, the brick is non-structural in this scenario. So I would, if you hate it and you want to lighten the space, I do recommend painting the brick. If you can't get it out, I think painting it's totally fine. What do you guys have this kind of situation?
You know, absolutely. We actually have, I've seen a lot of fireplaces with the bricks around, and it really just, it's very dependent on the home and very dependent on the homeowners. You know, possibilities are always endless here, but if you're asking for some different design ideas to freshen the space up, I like the idea of painting. Painting is one, cost effective, two, just really quick and easy. Another thought is if your budget allows for it, maybe consider even cladding it in a completely different stone or veneer.
The veneer would be easy.
Exactly. And, you know, depending on how you want this space to look, if you want it to feel a little bit more on the contemporary side, or if you want it to have that like cozy cabin feel, there's a lot of different types of stones that can really cater to that feel, that atmosphere.
Okay. So if you're comfortable with painting the brick, I think it's fine. If you're really worried about it, perhaps finding a different material to clad it with that has a more modern aesthetic to it would be the answer for that third one. And then going back in and coordinating paint colors to whatever that brick ends up being, if you're keeping it.
Yeah. And if you guys have any, you know, thoughts, questions, I'm monitoring the chat.
Oh, thank you for controlling my Zoom call. And then so this question, the second question here, we get asked a lot, I'm sure you get asked this question a lot, is mounting the TV above the mantle too high? Now, she's also indicated in the last question that her living room is 21 by 13. So 21, I'll tell you, in these homes, 21 is the long from the back of the room to the fireplace, and says that's 13 feet wide. So I think if you're going to mount that television, the higher you mount the TV, the further back you have to set your seating, because you don't want your neck craning all the way up. So I think perhaps a smaller TV than what is shown in this photograph might look okay above the mantle if you're willing to step that furniture a little further back. But I probably wouldn't recommend, I don't know,
mounting it above the fireplace. So there's the, I mean, it's all dependent on the size of TV that you desire. So my thought is, okay, what size TV is comfortable for you? What size TV do you want? And then, you know, decide where that TV can be placed. Because, you know, with a long, narrow room, I mean, I agree with you. If they decide that TV gets mounted above the fireplace and you just need to back up that furniture so that your head doesn't tilt all the way up. If that happens, I mean, I think that back wall just needs to be reconfigured or addressed somehow, because if you were to mount that TV above the fireplace, visually, it just kind of seems very high, even though it may, with the furniture arrangement, may feel comfortable actually watching. But let's just say, I'm just going to throw some ideas out there, but let's just say that let that fireplace wall be the fireplace wall, and it becomes a focal point of some sort. You know, maybe above the mantle, you create, I don't know, a photo collage of family portraits, or you implement some sort of built-in book shelving. So it becomes like this grounding, this anchoring portion of your room. And then perhaps that TV, what was the dimension? It's 21 long and
21 long by 13.
By 13.
I'm just taking a stab because I've been in a few of these homes where, and I think that 13 is the width of the fireplace, the brickwork.
Right. I think that would make sense. Perhaps, and I don't know what the other walls look like, but perhaps, you know, there's an opportunity to bring that television onto
the other side. Yeah, typically I believe there's probably, if I'm just making an educated guess, where that light is coming in is probably a walkout. We've got a lot of split level houses just because our terrain is really hilly here. So that would be my guess. But that's a good option. I'm going to blow it out of the water and just say, if you have the budget, get rid of the brick, put a fireplace insert, and then let's talk about getting the beams down. Those beams are likely, there's nothing, they're faux beams in my experience. You have to do some exploration. And if you're not using the ceiling fans to actually cool the space in the summer, I would move to recessed lighting and then just kind of change it up. And I think if you got some space on the sides of the fireplace, you'd be able to space plan a bit better in this area. I don't know. How would you blow it out? blow it apart. Megan?
Likewise, I don't know if the beams are something desirable to keep, but for sure, you know, by eliminating the ceiling fans and doing some sort of recessed lighting,
Yeah.
help to elevate the space. And yeah, I mean, I am really wanting to do something with that back wall, you know, blow out the brick. You know, perhaps if we really wanted to anchor that television up there, that whole entire wall could be reconfigured. So you've got like some sort of built-in cabinetry to anchor that, and then have the television inserted. Or, you know, if there's an opportunity to take out that brick and then somehow visually lower that fireplace. What I mean by that is, if the box needs to stay where it's at, perhaps all of the stone can be lowered, or if the stone goes all the way up to the wall and then you got the television above the fireplace. There's just a lot of things going on in my head right now. Like, I know, right?
Go on for days.
Mantle of some sort to make sure that the heat doesn't actually get to that television.
Yeah, I would have to do a gas insert with a vent on the top. Yeah, but I think painting the brick is okay if you're comfortable with it. It's not going to, you know, just to go back to her questions. And then if you do get that TV above frame, you can try it fairly easily without anchoring it. I believe you've got some depth to your mantle. So just if you've got extra time in quarantine, take everything down, pop it up there, see how you like it, and then kind of see where you'd want to step that furniture back. I would say for these long, narrow spaces, I love sectionals for this type of application, just because you can really get more casual seating and it can be more comfortable. So a sectional might be a good layout to try.
I definitely agree to that. Some sort of lightweight sectional, you know, in the event that the television goes up above the fireplace, I'd also consider, you know, painting that back wall or doing something with that back wall so you don't see that black rectangular shape of the television standing out.
That's a good point. Cool.
Or, you know, a back panel. Oh, we could go on.
I love to look at something because a lot of people have this home in our area anyway, and I see it a lot. So I'm gonna stop this share here. Good question. Thanks for sending that over. Okay, let's see. What do we have next? Okay, what is your favorite design style? You go first.
Oh, me? Okay.
Yeah.
I very much gravitate towards that modern aesthetic. You're probably thinking, really, because of what's going on behind me. So I'm with my boyfriend, and I love his home. Really, I do. There's a lot of things that we're just not going to touch. This tile actually is by Tabarca. I brought this in because I had some leftover from a project, and this built-in cabinetry area has turned into my designated work from home space. So clearly we're bringing in a lot of those modern elements. There's this light fixture that I don't know if you can see it. Gosh, there it is. Ta-da!
That's fun.
It looks so much better in person, but that's kind of my way of bringing in that modern touch into this home that has a lot of those Spanish undertones. Yes.
Tell everybody where we can look at your work.
Oh, sure. So a lot of my work can be found on my website, studiointeriordesign.com. Of course, I post a lot of my portfolio pieces onto my Instagram as well. Actually, that's all of my work. But when it comes to my own personal taste, modern for sure is what I gravitate to. When it comes to working with my clients, it's very much dependent on traditional all the way up to like modern glamorous to mid-century modern. So it's very dependent on my clients. One of my favorites, though, I have to say, my client, single bachelorette, worked on this project in downtown San Diego in the gas lamp, and she's just on the go, very busy professional. And she told me when we first started working together that she loves color and she loves sparkle. And I was like, how do we do this so it's not too over the top? But we made it work. And I mean, her entire condo, every time I show like her friends, they're like, that is Teresa, that is her style. It's very representational of her and her personality. So to answer the question of design style, it's all catered to my clients and their unique lifestyles.
Interesting. I like that. So I'm taking like a different perspective. I'm definitely a very modern, and when I rebranded my design business a few years ago, and I worked with a marketing firm. I'm still working with them today. And when we were discussing like what my new logo would look like, they looked at my work and they said, "You're very geometric. Everything is very linear and square and in the box." And I got kind of offended. I was like, "What do you mean?" You know, but I thought about it, and it's so very true. When you look at my work, there's a very like linear, and I'm a very linear. My
Yeah, I
process
was gonna
is very
say.
linear. Everything I do is like in order of we do this and then we do this, and everyone's different. And so it's funny. My home is very modern. I'm not going to show you right now because I'm quarantining myself in my living room. Long story, it's a mess. But very modern, black and white and walnut floors. And I am putting that out, and I'm starting to get some really cool clients that have the same ideal look. That doesn't mean I don't want to take clients that have you know, more of a mountain look or more of a rustic look. I still love to do that because it's a fun challenge, and I think we're trained in school to do anything. But the more I put out this look of this is what I like, the more I'm starting to get clients that also have that same desire. So that's kind of fun because I get to play a little bit more with if this were my house, what would I do?
Right.
But right, like a lot of times it is the client saying, you know, I saw this picture and this is my, you know, vision, and you've got to adhere to that and try to put your flair in there a little bit, as much as you can. So I think we're both modern, and also to modern, I think there's a modern can mean 10 different things to 10 different people.
Right. Yeah. I think that like the foundational elements that you'll see in all of my work would include, regardless of, you know, if it has more that traditional flavor or that contemporary flavor, everything does have like a fresh, clean feel to it. It's never, never too cluttered, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good point. Modern is very much more clean lines.
Right. Oh, got somebody joining us. Maria, admit.
They're in. Hopefully her video doesn't. I promised everyone we wouldn't be able to see their faces.
Welcome, Maria.
Hello, thank you for joining.
I'm gonna go ahead and
for people who've joined in late, we're gonna be recording it and putting it out on Facebook, Instagram, TV, and YouTube. So you can watch it later if you have nothing to do during quarantine. It's a good time to learn. We've talked. Oh, thank you. We've talked about working with a designer. Oh,
I got it.
We've talked about how to work with a designer. We've looked at a space that needed some help, and we've talked about how to become a designer, how we became designers, and our favorite design styles. And then the last question I have before I open it up to anyone on the call with us is, what is the next big trend? I'll answer this one first. I don't like to look for trends. Personally, I am seeing jewel tones are still good, navy's in, but when I design, I try to think about longevity, and is this going to be something my client's going to love for years? Okay, you're going to redo your kitchen, it's timeless, really. And we can pop some trends in there and things that are easy to change out, like lighting, paint colors, bar stools, whatever. Furniture is a little bit more easy to change out, but I don't like to do hard fixtures in the trends. I will say I'm seeing like, what am I seeing? Coming from the high point's not going to happen until June, unfortunately. We were seeing, what am I trying to say? Like leaf print, big, large print and bright colors.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my little note about trends. What do you think the next big trend is going to be?
Well, I think, you know, aside from the pretty things, the visual things that we see, trend-wise in our industry, I think of luxury and technology. So when I think of luxury, I think of these are the little modest luxuries that people want in their homes. And you know, sometimes we think of luxury as high dollar amount, but really what luxury is to us and to homeowners is ease and convenience, right? So with that, I think of technology. And when I think about appliances plumbing fixtures, technology there is just ever evolving, and it's here to make our lives easier and easier. We see a lot of that. You know, I didn't go to KBIS this last year, and for those of you guys who don't know, KBIS is the Kitchen and Bath Industry Showcase. It happens once a year for kitchen and bath designers, or really anybody who's affiliated with our kitchen and bath industry. But there's a lot of products on the market right now that are implementing, you know, Alexa or, you know, some sort of smart device to make life easy. So as an example,
and is it Wolf or Thermador where you can get recipes from your oven now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Jen is a prime example. They've actually had their ovens. Well, I went to their training back in 2000, was it like several years ago, right? They actually have a wonderful product in which you can look at your oven, and there's like a touch screen, a digital screen that will show you different recipes. And let's say you want to cook a steak in the oven, it'll tell you, do you want this medium rare? Do you want this medium? Do you want it well done? And you can just click on the picture, and it'll give you like a whole guide as far as how long to cook it. That sort of thing. That's just one example, but I mean, applying it across the board or heading in that direction, implementing some sort of technological piece to make life easy. That's what it's about. I know there's a whole lot of questions of like, okay, well, what if Wi-Fi goes out, or what if X, Y, and Z?
Well, and to that point, I work with a home automation company here in town called Listen Up. I don't know if they have them where you are, or there's probably just another company.
A lot of AVs that like
and
that.
It's really about trying not to rely on the Wi-Fi. If we're tearing your kitchen down, or we're redoing your whole first floor and the walls we're ripping out, we're going to cable it with CAT, which is the blue cable that you plug into your computer, so that you don't have to rely on Wi-Fi. Your shades go up and down, your lights dim. You can set morning, evening, and good night. You can set, you know, kids are home. All these settings you can set. The shades go up, the lights dim. You can predetermine these settings in your home. So it's really about home automation and making sure that that's part of your remodel. That's a good trend.
Well, and actually thinking about this now, what just popped into my head is, you know, since we're going through what we're going through, touchless faucets, touchless soap dispensers. I actually have a Kohler touchless soap dispenser, and it's not connected to Wi-Fi or anything. It's battery powered, but it's fantastic, right? You want to come in, you want to wash your hands right away. Instead of having to like touch that handle, you just wave your hand underneath. And, you know, a lot of this technology has been around for a while, but I think just what we're going through, that's going to be a trend that's going to continue to increase. I know we see it a lot in, you know, airports or public spaces, but I think we're going to see that continue on and probably even become more and more improved. I hate it when I go to the airport and I'm trying to like wash my hands. I'm like, does it see me? Does it see me?
I'm here.
Exactly. But I quite enjoy it. I've actually spec'd out a few, not a whole lot, but a few touchless kitchen faucets in actual remodels, just because you do have the ability to turn it on manually, right?
Sure.
You also have the ability to just say like touch the handle of the faucet
Oh,
with
like
elbow, or if you wanted to, you could just, you know, wave your hand underneath and there's like a little light sensor. But
we have the voice automated one now with Delta.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, and I don't know. You can ask it to like, you know, pour 2 cups of water and it'll do it.
So Brizo and Delta. Actually, I think Brizo and Delta are the other way around. So now they're one and the same, or they have that same umbrella. So yeah, if you wanted an upgrade, Brizo is like up here and then Delta's like right here. Some really cool stuff. But yeah, you're right. I remember seeing that, and you could tell Alexa how much water you wanted if you only wanted to fill like half a cup or something. It's insane.
I know. We live, but that's a good, and I think it's our job too to educate people, because they don't see these. I mean, we're inundated every day with emails from these manufacturers saying, "Here's what's new. Here's the next thing." I personally don't follow the television shows and the magazines that our clients are probably looking at. I think they're looking to us to be following something completely different that they don't see. So I'm not often following other designers. I'm following the manufacturers, and I'm following, like, what are they doing? What are they coming out with? But I did not think of, I love that you brought this up, that this whole situation with us needing to just be really conscious of keeping ourselves clean and safe could come out and manifest in new products for our kitchens and baths. That's awesome. Yeah.
I also think that, like we were talking about timeless design, classical design, and natural stone is usually my go-to for projects because, that's just like the beauty of natural wood. A natural stone is something that will carry on throughout the years, but these man-made products, engineered quartz, Corian, even, they usually have some sort of like antibacterial or something that it does not allow for bacteria or liquids to penetrate.
Yeah, it's like a non-permeable. It's not permeable, so nothing can go through it.
Right. Yeah. So I think, once we rise out of this situation, a lot of the manufacturers are probably going to be very cognizant of, okay, how do we up our marketing to promote that this is like protecting the public safety, making sure that we're not spreading germs, or, you know what I mean? Hygiene, cleanliness, that sort of thing.
Right. And we're going to have to do our jobs to make sure they're not misleading our clients either, too. I think there's a lot of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of learning will come out of this. That is all the questions that I have received, and I would like to open it up to anyone who wants to ask. If you are not familiar with Zoom, you can kind of hover over your window, or if you're on the phone, you can click on a little dot that says more, and there's a little chat box at the bottom, and you can type in a question.
Or if you want,
raise your hand, I think, but then I think if they raise the hand, we have to call on them.
Raise the hand, we just have to unmute. Does anybody?
Yeah, but then we won't see video. Okay. I figure some people are probably in their bathrobe. So that way we want to let them be comfy, like they're at home. Not everyone's working at home,
I can still unmute. Oh, have to see in your bathroom.
Question from Rebecca. Do you follow any rules when matching patterns? My rule, Rebecca, I'll answer and then Megan can answer. My rule with patterns is I try not to match the patterns. I would say you want to contrast carefully. I mean, you don't want to do a paisley with a floral. That's terrible. It's like, I'm trying to find the worst example. But if you're going to do like a big, bold leaf print on a wallpaper and a powder room, then maybe everything else needs to be a little bit more simple. So our tiles shouldn't be really ornate on the floor. It should probably be square or rectangle, just to kind of keep the balance. What kind of rules do you follow, Megan?
Yeah, so to piggyback off of that, I like to mix textures and patterns for sure, but they have to find a way to complement each other. And so what you just said, finding a large, bold pattern, I think is great. But if you want to find another pattern to introduce, like one example I'm thinking of is pillows, right? If you're going to do an arrangement of pillows, I like to think of a variety of texture and pattern, but they have to be complementary to each other. So if we have a pillow with a paisley, you're not going to put another floral next to it, but perhaps you find a pillow with a paisley, a pillow with a stripe, and then a pillow with a solid color. So what happens is now you've got all of these wonderful textures kind of marrying each other. It helps your eye to kind of move around without them fighting each other. So like
you find a color commonality in that, like there's peach tone in each, or do you do that at all, or would you be okay with there not being something common?
I'm okay with them not having something in common. I mean, it's all really dependent, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I need a visual in my head to understand that. But let's just take peach as an example. Let's say you have a solid peach color, and you've got a stripe with something that's complementary to peach, but then you've got black and white in it as well, and then you've got a paisley that has warmer tones, not necessarily peach, but something to complement that. You know what I mean? There's some sort of underlying commonality, but that complement each other.
Right. So you could have like peach and navy and maroon. Those three all do go together when we just look at them. I think that's a nice little palette, but you wouldn't have to have them all.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in terms of the patterns, I mean, you know, I think it's great to have variety. They just can't really fight each other.
Yeah.
Down here.
Carrie has a question. Do you want to read it, Megan?
Sure. Coming from Carrie. Where would you recommend shopping for reasonably priced furniture, specifically accent chairs?
Do you want to go? Do you want me to go?
You go.
Okay, so right now it's been a little bit crazy because of manufacturing and some things that are just slowing. Things are still going to come. It depends on some clients that I work with really want to shop retail. They're very comfortable with, I'm not going to say any retail names, but a store that they've shopped at for a long time. And others are really just trying to find something quality. And that's where a designer can step in and say, I have access to 2,000 lines of furniture that you can't find at the store. What is your price point? And we really would start there. Things to look for if you're going to go to a store and shop for furniture at a retail store, that's totally fine. Feel the furniture, play with it. If you can feel the frame through the back of the chair, if it's upholstered, you shouldn't be able to feel the frame. That's just not very well upholstered. So kind of give it a little twist in the store. I mean, really this stuff, if you're going to spend a lot of money on upholstery, you want it to last for a very long time. But some of my favorite manufacturers that I sell for clients that are a reasonable price point, I would say there's a company called Row that I really, really love. They have good modern styles. The upholstery is really, there's inline fabric options, so you don't have to spend a fortune with doing something a little bit more custom. Gosh, what else would I say? There's another line called Four Hands. I don't know that they do a ton of upholstery, full upholstery, but I have seen some pieces that's a lower price point, a reasonable, you know, for an accent chair. Where would you shop? Are there retailers that you like, Megan?
So when I think of accent chairs, I think of, you know, something lighter, daintier. I do like Row for upholstery. Four Hands, I think, actually has a great variety or great selection of those accent chairs. Uttermost, I think, is another good one too. It's all really dependent on where to shop. So, you know, so I think what we really have to ask ourselves is, what is that accent chair for? Is this something that you're going to use daily? Is this going to be a pretty piece in the corner of a living room space that you rarely use?
Yeah.
I think, you know, we got to ask ourselves those questions first. But in terms of just like generic places to shop, I mean, there's retailers that are out there, right? But your point, you never really know what the true quality of that piece is going to be. But yeah, Uttermost, Four Hands. I was also thinking
for a designer friend in San Antonio, Sarissa, is chiming in to me privately, and she makes a very good point. It's really difficult to say like what's reasonable priced to someone. A reasonable price could be $100. To someone else, it could be $1,000. It's really where you're comfortable on that scale. So really sit in there and say, how much do I want to spend? What's my top dollar? And know that, as Megan, California Megan was mentioning, is it going to sit in the corner and never get used, or are we sitting on it every day? That might lead you to decide what a reasonable price is.
Yeah. Ooh, question. Coming in from Vanessa. So Vanessa asks, what are the biggest mistakes homeowners make when trying to design their own home?
Oh my gosh.
Well, when it comes to like a kitchen remodel, I think, you know, one of the big mistakes here is just going for it, demoing everything out without having a game plan. And I've walked into a situation like that before. I'm like, oh, you demoed at your kitchen. There's no walls here, and you're asking me how I would lay this out. That's kind of a big one. My big thing as a kitchen and bath designer is always have a game plan. And actually this applies to any type of design. You're always going to want to have a game plan of some sort before you execute. Meaning that, okay, if you're looking to remodel your kitchen, let's really consider, what is this kitchen going to look like? How do you want to arrange that working triangle? What color cabinetry? What's the cabinetry layout? What are your storage needs? How do you want the lighting to work? What kind of appliances do you want? Have all those pieces laid out first, even if not demoing anything out, even if you haven't paid money for your products, have a game plan so you understand what it is that you're going to do before just taking everything out and saying, okay, I've got this empty space, now what do I do?
Well, and I mean, you just listed off at least 5 things for a kitchen, and there are more than 5 things that go in a kitchen. I have a worksheet I do with everyone. I mean, there's probably at least 27 line items on it. It's just for a kitchen. So game plan is a great place to start, because there's a lot of things that you may not think about. And the kitchen is a great example. But even when we talk about, you know, furniture, mistakes can be expensive. So having that game plan is totally key. And also I think people rush. They're so excited. Let's say they just got their dream home. They're ready to furnish it. They get in and they're like, yes. And they rush and they want to fill in all the blanks, and they don't necessarily have the money to fill in all the blanks. So they start buying things that aren't going to last. And a year later, they're regretting that sofa they bought online that they never got to sit on. My brother did this. So sorry, brother, I'm calling you out. Bought a sofa off an online site. I won't say the site, and it's so uncomfortable. They don't like it, and no one likes it, you know. So save. It's worth saving. It's worth looking at. I got my sofa. It's a designer sofa. I got it for less than $500 from nextdoor.com. It's a feather down sofa. It's not the color I might have picked, but I didn't, you know, we spent a lot of money when we moved in here and remodeled. So I was either going to wait a year and a half to have my dream sofa, or I was going to look for something that would work for the time being until we could save up to get the dream sofa. So slow it down, I think, is a big thing. I tell people, I would rather you do this project in a year and get to do all of it than do it kind of, you know, with half the effort, you know.
Right. That's a good one. Being impulsive. Impulsive buying.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Sarissa's chiming in. Yeah, not realizing how much planning is involved. That goes back to Megan's point.
Applies to everything, whether it's a kitchen remodel or a bathroom remodel, because if you don't have that plan, and if you're not taking down those measurements, then, you know, having a mistake or an error in a dimension could really be a costly fix. For sure.
And I think if homeowners are like, so back to the question, when the homeowner's trying to design on their own, if it's furniture, it's a little bit more forgiving because we just got to arrange things correctly. So measurements aren't as tight, but in a bathroom or a kitchen, 1/4 inch can kill a kitchen, 1/8 of an inch really can. So it's worth it to pay for, even if you're not going to hire a designer, that's totally fine. Pay someone the extra $250 at the cabinet vendor to come and do the measure for you. Don't just do everything yourself. That $250 is going to save you when you don't measure right and you have to buy the entire pantry cabinet again because it's an inch too big. A pantry cabinet is like $1,200. So that $250 can save you from making a really expensive mistake. So not being shy at hiring the people that know what they're doing.
Yeah. And when it comes to like furnishing a space, living room, family room, dining room, I think some of the smaller mistakes that I see happen, people trying to do things on their own, is not understanding scale and proportion.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Like artwork, light fixtures, dining tables, sofas even if you measure it out in the space and you don't have a good grasp of what my circulation space should be around that sofa, you know, that's something that you always just want to double check. Right. Artwork on the walls, not understanding proportion and scale. So for example, you know, most of the homes out here in Southern California, like a typical ceiling height is 8 feet. But every now and then you're going to see a lot of these larger spaces with vaulted ceilings, and people want to put, you know, some beautiful statement piece of artwork up on their walls, and you know, they forget that it's a large space to fill. So if you get a piece that you fall in love with that is, you know, much smaller than the wall can actually handle, then it's completely out of balance, out of whack.
Yeah, that's a very good volume. Like, we live in a 3D world. So considering the volume of something, and for a lot of the people who are shopping retail or online or DIY, there's a lot of like apps now where I guess you could take a picture of your space and like see the light in the space. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I've never tried this, like a light fixture, you know, see it in your space, see the chair in your living room. And I don't know how on earth they know how big your space is, because your phone doesn't have a laser in it. It's really up to the app to determine that. So if you do that and you're like, yes, this looks amazing at the end of my corridor, I'm going to buy this chest, measure it, because I do not know how the phone knows how big your space is. The measuring device I have has a laser in it. And that's how it knows how big the space is. So.
And I know, you know, a lot of my clients will, I think everybody is very visual. So when it comes to certain things like understanding the size of a light fixture, how that looks in the space, I actually use my 3D models that I my clients, so that they have a good understanding of that, what the scale might be. And then in addition to that, just when we meet, you know, busting out that tape measure, like this is what you can expect, using another object to reference, like this is approximately the diameter of this light fixture right here, and this is how it's going to look over your dining table. That way they have extra reason.
There's a guy in one of the design groups, I don't know which one, and he actually will, if a client is having a hard time visualizing it, he will make a mock-up of the light fixture with aluminum foil.
That's fun.
And I thought, well, I mean, it's a little wasteful, but it gets the point across. So, I mean, just if it's expensive, make sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, light fixtures aren't cheap. Another good one, I'm going to use my boyfriend here as an example. I think I called him out earlier, but you know, getting somebody to double check your paint colors couldn't really hurt. I always say it's better to sample paint on the walls before, you know, committing to a color and then just slapping the paint throughout the entire space. It really has to be something that sits on the wall for a while, so you could see it in artificial light, so you could see it in natural light, in the daytime, in the evening. With my boyfriend, he just saw a paint color and said, oh, it looks good. And I mean, sure, it does look good, but not necessarily in this space.
Yeah. How does he know? Oh, wow.
Exactly. And then, you know, once he committed to that, he spent X amount of dollars and time to have the entire place painted, all of the walls throughout the living room, kitchen, dining room, bedroom, bathroom, and the ceiling. And so now we're in this process of, okay, that didn't really work out so well, and let's take a look at some different options. And, you know, he just said it, I wish I had met you before, because then I really could have understood what works best with what I have. So when it comes to paint, my recommendations and suggestions to save yourself some time and money would be to really evaluate the paint colors. Meaning, you know, I think as a designer, I'm okay with just these paint samples. We're doing this one in
here. We do it every day. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I recommend to my clients is to take that paint color and actually sample like a nice large, you know, maybe 3x3 on the wall and let it sit. If you have a couple different options there, let those different options sit on the wall so you could see them throughout the day, from morning till night, in natural light and artificial light, because that alone right there is going to save you, again, a lot of time and a lot of money. So you don't have to repaint the place.
Yeah, good.
Years ago, who didn't listen to me, I said, okay, I think that this is going to look good, but what I need you to do is you just put a couple of paint samples up on the wall and live with it for a second, because your lighting is going to make this paint color look completely different than, you know, at the furniture showroom store that I was at the time. And they're like, okay. And then they went against my advice. They painted the entire thing, and they came back and they're like, well, we should have listened to you. We kind of just wanted to get it done. And that was being impulsive, right? Just wait it out. You're going to be so much happier with life if you could just find a little patience and and see exactly, you know, what that paint color is going to look like.
Yeah. And one more point of patience before we say goodbye. I would say in that situation, your client was impatient. This has happened on many projects. I want to get it going. I want to get it done. I want to get it done now. They did it wrong and they had to redo it. It took them the same amount of time, if not longer, than if they would have just been patient.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not saving yourself time, and it's no one's fault. We're all very excited to work on our homes, even designers, but you end up taking the same path in the long run.
Right.
So,
Right.
cool. Well, we've hit 11 o'clock, and I'm excited that we got to do this. Hopefully everyone learned something. He's gonna save this video for me, and I'm gonna find out how to get it up to all the social media. And again, you can find her. Say where we can find you.
Oh, sure. So my website is www.mstudiointeriordesign.com, and then my Instagram is @mstudio.id.
Yes. So if you know anyone in Southern California, Megan is your girl. Thanks again so much for joining us. And I think I might do this every quarter. I think it's a little much to do every month, but this has been fun. And I'd love to do a new vendor or a designer each quarter. So look out. I think June might be calling. So thanks so much for joining.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Megan. And thank you all for sticking around.
Yeah. You might have to end the meeting because I relinquished control,
okay.
but we will see you next time.
Bye. Bye.